The conference hall smelled like recycled air and academic desperation. Nina sat 3 rows from the front, datapad balanced on her knee, half listening to the lecturer drone on about pre-contact civilizations. The Galactic Archaeological Society hosted these things every cycle. Mostly, they were boring. Slides of rocks, theories about rocks, arguments about whether those rocks meant anything. She was here for the networking. The lecturer, a tall, spindly creature with too many joints, clicked to the next slide. This site, it said, was discovered beneath the Sahara. Carbon dating places it at approximately 50,000 years before present. Nina glanced up. The screen showed ruins, sandstone structures, half buried, with strange geometric patterns carved into every surface. Definitely Earth. Definitely ancient. She leaned forward. The lecturer continued. We believe this was a proto-human settlement. Pre-modern. Pre-cognitive revolution. Another click. A photograph. Not of ruins. Of people. A dig site. Tents in the background. A team of archaeologists standing in front of an excavation pit, smiling at the camera. Nina's throat tightened. She knew that photo. Because she was in it. Second from the left. Blue jacket. Hair tied back. Holding a trowel like it was a trophy. Her hands went cold. This image was recovered from the site's lower strata, the lecturer said. Embedded in sediment layers consistent with the Paleolithic era. We're still working to determine how photographic technology could exist in... Nina stood up. Every head in the hall turned. That's my thesis advisor, she said. Silence. The lecturer blinked. All 6 of its eyes. Excuse me? Nina pointed at the screen. Third from the right. Professor Outline. That's him. He's still alive. He teaches at MIT. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The lecturer's mandibles clicked nervously. I assure you this image predates modern humanity by... I graduated 3 years ago, Nina said. Her voice was steady, but her heart was hammering. That photo was taken in Morocco. Spring of 2048. I was there. The murmurs turned into whispers. Someone in the back row hissed. Contamination. The lecturer stepped back from the podium. Security. Nina barely had time to process what was happening before the doors burst open. Galactic security moved fast. Too fast. 4 of them. Armored. Helmets reflecting the stage lights. They didn't ask questions. They didn't announce charges. They just moved. The lead officer was different from the others. Taller. Crystalline. Its body refracted light like a prism, scattering rainbows across the walls. It stopped in front of Nina. Dr. Nina Ortega, it said. Its voice was layered, harmonic, like glass singing. You are under arrest for timeline contamination. Nina blinked. For what? Your presence in this hall constitutes a causality violation. That doesn't even make sense. The officer tilted its head. Light fractured across its face. Your existence is the contamination. They didn't give her time to argue. 2 officers grabbed her arms. She tried to pull free, but their grips were mechanical, unyielding. Wait, this is insane, Nina shouted. I didn't do anything. Compliance is recommended, the crystalline officer said. They dragged her out of the hall. The corridor outside was cold and too bright. Her boots scraped against the metal floor as they hauled her toward a lift. This is a mistake, Nina said. I'm just a doctoral student. The officer didn't respond. The lift descended for what felt like forever. When the doors opened, they were in a detention wing. White walls. Energy barriers humming at low frequency. They shoved her into a pod. The barrier snapped on behind her, a curtain of crackling blue light. Nina spun around. You can't just... Detainment is temporary, the officer said. Pending investigation. Investigation of what? The officer's face was unreadable. Your timeline coherence. Then it turned and walked away. Nina stood there, breathing hard, fists clenched. A voice spoke from behind her. First time getting arrested for being born? She whirled around. There was someone else in the pod. A man. Human. Leaning against the far wall like he owned the place. Scruffy beard. Worn jacket. Eyes that looked like they'd seen too much and found it funny. He grinned. Welcome to the club. Nina stared at him. Who the hell are you? Damon, he said. Damon Cross, rogue exoanthropologist, wanted in 14 systems, mostly for asking inconvenient questions. He pushed off the wall and walked over, hand extended. Nina didn't take it. You're human, she said. Last time I checked. What are you doing here? Same thing you are, I'm guessing. He lowered his hand. Pissing off the space cops by existing. Nina's head was spinning. This doesn't make sense. That photo… Let me guess, Damon said. You saw yourself in an archaeological record that predates modern civilization by a few dozen millennia? She stared at him. He nodded. Yeah, thought so. He pulled a datapad from his jacket and tapped it a few times. The screen lit up. I've been tracking this for 5 years, he said. Human anomalies. Things that shouldn't exist in the timeline but do anyway. He handed her the pad. Nina scrolled through the files. A Viking ship excavation. One of the skeletons was wearing sneakers. A Mesopotamian clay tablet with cuneiform script. Translated, it referenced the gods of Wi-Fi. A cave painting in France, dated 30,000 years ago. It looked exactly like a QR code. What the hell is this? Nina whispered. Either we're time travelers, Damon said, or someone's been really bad at covering their tracks. Nina looked up at him. Or this is the worst prank in galactic history. Damon grinned. Option 3. We're not from Earth at all. Before Nina could respond, the detention pod door hissed open. The crystalline officer was back. It was holding a file, its prismatic face turned toward Nina. Dr. Ortega, it said slowly. Your DNA just broke our system. Quarzix set the file down on the energy barrier between them. The document flickered, holographic text scrolling too fast to read. Nina stared at it. What do you mean, broke your system? The crystalline officer folded its hands behind its back. Light refracted through its torso, casting geometric shadows on the walls. Your genetic markers, Quarzix said, do not align with known human evolutionary timelines. Damon leaned forward, grinning. Oh, this is going to be good. Nina ignored him. I was born in New Jersey, 2034. My parents are accountants. I'm very human. Your surface biology is consistent with Homo sapiens, Quarzix said. But your DNA contains segments that predate modern humans by approximately 30,000 years. Silence. Nina blinked. That's not possible. And yet, Quarzix said, tapping the file, here it is. Damon laughed. Actually laughed. So what? She's a time loop baby? Did her great-great-great-grandmother hook up with a Neanderthal? Quarzix turned its prismatic face toward him. Worse, she is a replication artifact. Nina's stomach dropped. I'm a what? Quarzix gestured, and the holographic file expanded. Images flooded the space between them. Star charts, DNA helixes, ancient symbols that hurt to look at. Humanity, Quarzix said, was not a product of natural evolution. Nina's mouth went dry. 80,000 years ago, Quarzix continued, an advanced species known as the Archivists seeded Earth with biological material. They engineered your species from the ground up. Engineered, Nina repeated. The word tasted wrong. Correct. Humans were designed as biological data storage. Damon whistled low. Walking hard drives. That's us. Nina turned on him. You're taking this very calmly. I've had 5 years to process it, Damon said. You've had 30 seconds. Give it time. Nina turned back to Quarzix. Why? Why would they do that? Preservation, Quarzix said. The Archivists were dying. Their civilization was collapsing. They needed a way to store their knowledge, their culture, their history, so they encoded it into DNA and scattered it across a primitive world. Nina felt like the floor was tilting. You're telling me we're a backup file? Essentially. That's insane. That's archaeology. Damon stood up, stretching. So what happened to these archivists? They stick around to watch their little experiment grow up? Korzix's light dimmed slightly. They vanished approximately 12,000 years ago. No one knows why. Convenient, Damon muttered. They left behind vaults, Korzix continued. Hidden facilities scattered across Earth. Each one contains fragments of their technology, their records, and genetic material. Nina's mind was racing. The dig site, in Morocco. Was that a vault entrance? Yes. She exhaled slowly. And I just happened to be there. No, Korzix said. You were drawn there. Drawn? Every human carries fragments of Archivist code in their genes. Most of it is dormant, unreadable. But some individuals, like you, are active nodes. Nina stared. Active nodes. You are a living key, Korzix said. Your genetic structure unlocks Archivist technology. Damon clapped her on the shoulder. Congratulations, you're a walking password. Nina shoved his hand off. This is not funny. It's a little funny. Korzix stepped closer to the barrier. Its voice dropped, harmonics shifting. You should not exist outside containment, Dr. Ortega. None of your species should. Nina's blood went cold. Containment? Humans were meant to remain on Earth, isolated, controlled. When your species achieved faster than light travel, it created a problem. A problem, Nina said flatly. You are carrying genetic code that predates most known civilizations. Code that could unlock technology we barely understand. And now you are loose. What am I, a lab rat? Nina snapped. Damon grinned. Actually, yeah, that's exactly what we are. Before Korzix could respond, alarms blared. Red light flooded the detention pod. Korzix's communicator lit up, projecting a frantic voice. Code Omega 91. Repeat, code Omega 91. Anomaly detected in Earth orbit. Korzix's entire body flashed bright. Define anomaly. It's activating. The crystalline officer went still. Activating. Which vault? All of them. But the primary signature is coming from... The voice cut off. Korzix looked at Nina. For the first time, something like fear flickered in its prismatic face. The moon, it said quietly. Nina frowned. What about the moon? Korzix moved fast. The barrier dropped. It grabbed Nina's arm, hauling her out of the pod. Come with me, now. Damon followed, jogging to keep up. Hey, what's happening? Korzix didn't answer. They ran through corridors, past panicking officers, past observation decks where people were pressed against windows, staring. Korzix led them into a command center. Screens covered every wall, dozens of them, all showing the same thing. Earth. And the moon splitting open. Nina's breath caught. The moon wasn't cracking. It was unfolding, like a flower. Massive panels peeling back, revealing something underneath. Something black, smooth, humming with light. What the hell is that? Damon whispered. An archivist vault, Korzix said. The largest one ever recorded. Nina couldn't look away. It was inside the moon? It was the moon, Korzix said. The entire satellite was a camouflage. A shell. It has been dormant for millennia. And now it's awake, Damon said. On the screens, the black structure pulsed. Light rippled across its surface in patterns that looked almost like language. Then it started broadcasting. The signal hit every screen in the command center at once. A low, thrumming tone that vibrated in Nina's chest. Please tell me that's not a countdown, Damon said. Korzix's voice was tight. It's a recall sequence. Nina turned. Recall for what? Korzix looked at her. Its crystalline face was unreadable, but its voice was quiet. For you. All of you. Every human in the galaxy. The station shook. Nina grabbed the console for balance. What's happening? The vault is pulling, Korzix said. Gravitationally. Biologically. It is designed to retrieve active nodes. Retrieve? Nina's voice cracked. You mean it's dragging us in? Yes. The station shook again, harder this time. Lights flickered. Damon grabbed the edge of a desk, laughing breathlessly. This is not how I wanted to spend my Tuesday. Nina shot him a look. Bold of you to assume we're surviving until Wednesday. Korzix moved to a terminal, fingers flying over the controls. We need to evacuate. If the vault fully activates... Another pulse. The screens flickered. And then, in perfect unison, every screen in the command center displayed the same image. A face. Human. Female. Staring directly at the camera. Staring directly at Nina. The face smiled. And spoke. Hello, Nina. Welcome home. The station's autopilot didn't ask permission. Nina felt the pull before she saw it. A tug in her chest, like invisible hands reaching through her ribs. We're moving, Damon said, gripping the console. Korzix was already at the controls, trying to override. The vault has commandeered our navigation. Can you stop it? Nina asked. No. The station lurched. Through the viewports, Earth's moon loomed closer. The black structure inside pulsed with light, a heartbeat made of technology. Nina's own heartbeat matched it. Why is it only pulling us? Damon asked. Korzix's voice was grim. Because you are the ones it wants. The station docked. Not gently. The whole structure shuddered as magnetic clamps locked them in place. The airlock hissed open. Beyond it, a corridor. Smooth, black, glowing faintly at the edges. Nina stepped forward. Korzix grabbed her arm. Wait. For what? Nina asked. It already dragged us here. Let me scan it first. Korzix pulled out a device, sweeping it across the opening. The readings made its crystalline face flicker with confused light. The atmosphere is breathable, it said slowly. But the structure is reading your biometrics. It will only allow the three of us through. Damon raised an eyebrow. How do you know? Because it told me. Korzix gestured to its scanner. The screen displayed a single message in perfect Galactic standard. 3 guests. No more. Nina exhaled. Then let's not keep it waiting. They stepped inside. The corridor stretched impossibly far. The walls glowed with symbols that shifted as Nina passed, rearranging themselves into new patterns. Damon ran his hand along the surface. It's warm. It's alive, Korzix said quietly. They walked for what felt like hours but was probably minutes. Time felt strange here. Elastic. Finally, the corridor opened into a chamber. Nina stopped breathing. It was vast. Cathedral-like. The ceiling stretched so high it disappeared into darkness. Pillars of light rose from the floor, each one covered in glowing script. And it was silent. Not the silence of an empty room. The silence of something waiting. Nina took a step forward. The walls pulsed. Once, twice, in rhythm with her heartbeat. Ah, Damon said. Is it just me? Or is this place breathing? Nina moved toward the nearest pillar. Her hand reached out, hovering just above the surface. Don't touch that, Korzix warned. She touched it anyway. The pillar exploded with light. Holographic records flooded the air around her. Text, images, data streams that moved too fast to follow, but Nina could read it. All of it. And it was written in her own handwriting. She stepped back, heart hammering. I don't remember writing this. Damon moved closer, squinting at the holograms. Because you didn't. Not this you. The chamber shifted. The pillars dimmed. And a voice spoke. Nina's voice, but older. Tired. Worn down by something heavy. If you're hearing this, the voice said, the reset didn't work. A figure materialized in the center of the chamber. A hologram. A woman. Nina stared, because she was looking at herself. Same face, same height, same scar on her left hand from a lab accident when she was 22. But this Nina was different. She wore robes that looked ancient, stitched with symbols Nina didn't recognize but somehow understood. Her eyes were older, sad. My name is Nina Ortega, the hologram said. I was one of the last archivists. The real Nina felt her knees weaken. Damon caught her arm. Steady. When our civilization collapsed, the hologram continued, we made a choice. We encoded our consciousness into genetic material and seeded it across a primitive world. Earth. We called it reincarnation. We called it survival. She paused, looking directly at Nina. We were wrong. Nina's voice came out hoarse. How many? The hologram smiled faintly. I've lived 83 lifetimes. You're number 84. I didn't consent to this. None of us did, the hologram said. That's why I tried to end it. Korzix stepped forward, light refracting sharply. End what? The hologram turned. The cycle. I triggered a purge. A protocol designed to erase all archivist code from human DNA. To let humanity evolve naturally. To let me finally die. But you're here, Damon said. Because it failed, the hologram said bitterly. The system rebooted anyway, and here we are, again. Nina's hands were shaking. So what am I? A copy? A ghost? You're a backup file, the hologram said. We all are. Damon laughed, but it sounded hollow. So we're all just recycled souls? Not souls, the hologram said. Backup files. Consciousness encoded into DNA, reborn every few generations. You live, you die, you wake up again with no memory of the last loop. Nina felt sick. Why? Because the archivists were terrified of dying, the hologram said. So they built immortality into human genetics. But immortality, without memory, is just torture. The chamber pulsed again. The hologram flickered. I'm showing you this because you need to make a choice. Another pillar lit up. A console rose from the floor. Simple. Clean. A single lever, glowing red. This is the failsafe, the hologram said. A manual override. Pull it, and all archivist code is erased permanently. Every vault, every fragment, every reincarnation loop, gone. Nina stared at it. What happens to humanity? You'll be free, the hologram said. Truly human. Truly yourselves. Korzix moved fast, stepping between Nina and the console. You cannot do this. Nina looked at the crystalline officer. Why not? That code contains thousands of years of archivist knowledge, technology, medicine, history. If you erase it, it's gone forever. It's also our trauma, Damon said quietly. Our curse. It's priceless information, Korzix insisted. It's our information, Nina shot back. Our DNA. Our lives. The hologram flickered again. I couldn't do it. Maybe you can. Nina stepped toward the console. Alarms blared. The chamber shook. Korzix's communicator lit up. They're breaching the vault. Who? Damon asked. Galactic Council forces. They want the data intact. They're prepared to use lethal force. Nina's hand hovered over the lever. The hologram watched her. Whatever you choose, you can't undo it. Footsteps echoed from the corridor. Shouting. Weapons charging. Damon moved beside Nina. Whatever you choose, make it count. Nina's fingers wrapped around the lever. She looked at her own face. 83 lifetimes staring back at her. I'm sorry, Nina whispered, and pulled. Halfway. The vault screamed. Not sound. Something deeper. A vibration that rattled teeth and bones. Every hologram in the chamber went haywire. Text scrolled backward. Images fragmented. And then, something unlocked. A third option. The console shifted, panels sliding apart. A new interface emerged, glowing blue instead of red. The hologram's eyes widened. What did you... You said I couldn't undo it, Nina said. But I can change it. The interface displayed a single prompt. Decrypt and release. Damon leaned over her shoulder. What does that do? Nina read the text scrolling across the screen. Her own handwriting. Her own notes. Left by a version of herself who'd thought of everything. It doesn't erase the code, Nina said slowly. It unlocks it. Korzix's voice was sharp. Unlocks how? It decrypts all archivist knowledge encoded in human DNA, and releases it, into every human, simultaneously. Silence. Damon blinked. You mean, every piece of data, every memory, every fragment of technology, given to humanity all at once. Kwarzik's entire body flashed red. That would be catastrophic. Humanity would have access to weapons, technology, knowledge they are not ready for. Nina looked at the hologram. Is that what you wanted? The hologram smiled. Slow. Tired. Relieved. I wanted a choice, she said. This is a choice. The footsteps were closer now. Voices shouting in languages Nina didn't recognize. Damon grinned. Do it. Nina pressed the interface. The vault screamed again, and then it sang. Light exploded from every surface. Not blinding, radiant, beautiful. The data released, transmitted, broadcast, to every human in the galaxy. Nina felt it hit her like a tidal wave. Memories that weren't hers. Knowledge she'd never learned. Languages she'd never studied. She gasped, stumbling back. Damon caught her. He was gasping too. Holy! Kwarzik stared at them, crystalline face cycling through colors too fast to track. What have you done? Nina straightened, breathing hard. Her mind was on fire, but it was clear. I gave us a choice, she said. For once. The data hit Earth like lightning. 7 billion people felt it at once. A grandmother in Tokyo suddenly understood quantum mechanics. A fisherman in Chile could read star charts. A teenager in Lagos started sketching blueprints for technology that hadn't been invented in 12,000 years. Humanity woke up and remembered everything. News feeds exploded. Social media collapsed under the weight of simultaneous revelation. Governments scrambled. Scientists wept. Philosophers had existential breakdowns on live television. Within 6 hours, 3 separate groups had reverse-engineered archivist propulsion systems. Within 12, someone published a unified field theory. By the end of the first day, humanity had rewritten its entire understanding of physics, biology, and reality itself. And they did it arguing on message boards. Kwarzik stood in the vault, watching the feed scroll across its communicator. What have you done? It whispered. Nina was still catching her breath. Her mind buzzed with knowledge she hadn't earned. Languages she'd never studied. Memories of civilizations she'd never seen. She looked at Kwarzik's. I gave us a choice, for once. The crystalline officer's light flickered. You've made humanity the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Good, Nina said. The vault around them was powering down, the light fading, the hum quieting. Through the viewport, Earth's moon was closing, the black panels folding back into place, sealing themselves shut. Dormant again. But humanity wasn't. Damon leaned against a pillar, grinning like a maniac. So, what now? Now, Kwarzik said quietly. We face the consequences. Nina looked at the hologram of her past self. It was fading, flickering like a dying star. The ancient Nina smiled. Thank you. And disappeared. 3 months later. The Galactic Council chamber was designed to intimidate. Vaulted ceilings, crystalline pillars, delegates from 100 worlds seated in concentric rings, all facing the center stage. Today's session had a single topic. The human problem. Kwarzik sat in the observer section, watching. The chamber was tense. Delegates whispered. Some looked angry. Others looked afraid. The human delegation entered. 5 of them. Walking calmly. Too calmly. Nina led the group. She wore a simple suit, no ceremonial robes, no attempt to blend in. Damon walked beside her, hands in his pockets like he was attending a departmental meeting. They took their seats. The council speaker, a towering insectoid creature, rose. This emergency session addresses the unauthorized release of archivist data into the human population. Nina didn't flinch. 3 months ago, the speaker continued, humanity gained access to restricted knowledge, technology, genetic data, information that predates most civilizations represented in this chamber. Murmurs rippled through the room. We are here to determine, the speaker said slowly, what to do about it. One of the human delegates, a physicist from Mumbai, raised her hand. The speaker hesitated. Yes? Quick question, the physicist said. We've reverse-engineered your warp drive system. The one you've been using for 3,000 years. It's inefficient. We have a better design. Want to see it? Silence. Another delegate, a linguist from São Paulo, spoke up. Also, we solved that mathematical proof your academies have been stuck on, the one about non-Euclidean dimensional folding. Turns out the answer was in our junk DNA the whole time. He smiled. We figured it out over lunch. The chamber erupted, delegates shouting, translators struggling to keep up. The speaker slammed its appendage on the podium. Order! Quarzik stood. Its crystalline form caught the light, casting rainbows across the chamber. Esteemed Council, it said. I propose immediate containment. Humanity must be quarantined to their home system until we can assess the full scope of... Nina stood. The chamber went silent. She looked at Quarzik, then at the speaker, then at the 100 delegates staring at her. You treated us like a storage closet, Nina said. Her voice was calm, clear. You knew what we were. You let us integrate into galactic society anyway. And now you're surprised we read the files? Damon stood beside her. Also, we found your surveillance network. Cute stuff. Outdated encryption, though. We shut it down last week. An elder delegate, a being made of shifting liquid, rose slowly from its seat. They weren't supposed to wake up, it whispered. Nina turned to face it. Too late. The chamber was silent. The speaker's mandibles clicked nervously. What do you want? Nina smiled. Recognition. Participation. A seat at the table. And if we refuse? Then we'll build our own table, Damon said. We've got the blueprints now. The elder delegate's form rippled with something that might have been fear. This is unprecedented. So are we, Nina said. The session adjourned in chaos. Quarzik caught up with Nina in the corridor outside. You shouldn't have done that, the crystalline officer said. Nina stopped walking. Which part? All of it. The vault, the data release, threatening the council. I didn't threaten anyone, Nina said. I just told them the truth. Quarzik's light flickered. Frustration, maybe, or something close to it. You've destabilized the entire galactic order in 3 months. The order was built on keeping us ignorant, Nina shot back. Was that fair? Fairness is irrelevant. Stability matters. Nina turned to face the officer fully. You arrested me for existing. You called me a contamination. You wanted to lock my entire species in a box because we made you uncomfortable. Quarzik went quiet. We didn't ask to be genetic storage devices, Nina continued. We didn't ask to be backup files for a dead civilization. But here we are. And now we know what we are. And what are you? Quarzik asked softly. Nina smiled, tired, genuine. Still figuring that out. She started walking again. Quarzik called after her. For what it's worth, I would have made the same choice. Nina stopped, glanced back. The crystalline officer stood in the corridor, light refracting across the walls. You're terrifying, Quarzik said. All of you. But perhaps the galaxy needed terrifying. Nina nodded once and kept walking. Behind her, Damon caught up, jogging to match her pace. Did you just get a compliment from Space Cop? I think so. Character development. I like it. They walked in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Damon asked, Do you ever think about the others? Others? The other yous. The 83 lifetimes. Nina considered it. Sometimes. But they're not me. Not really. I'm just the latest iteration. But you have their memories now. Fragments, Nina said. Echoes. It's like remembering a dream someone else had. That's deeply unsettling. Welcome to my Tuesday. Nina returned to the conference hall where it all started. The Galactic Archaeological Society was hosting another lecture. Smaller crowd this time. Nervous energy in the air. The same alien lecturer was on stage, packing up his equipment. Nina walked down the aisle. The lecturer saw her. Froze. Nina stopped at the front row. I have a question. The lecturer's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. Please don't. If you knew we were archivist nodes, Nina said slowly, Why show the photo? Silence. The lecturer's mandibles twitched. His form shifted slightly, colors changing, posture adjusting. Recognition flickered across his face. And guilt. Because I needed someone to activate the vault, he said quietly. Nina stepped closer. You're not just a scholar. No. You're an archivist. A remnant. Hiding in a new body. The lecturer didn't deny it. I've been waiting, watching, for 12,000 years, waiting for the right moment. You used me. I freed you, the lecturer said. You freed yourselves. Now we're even. He picked up his datapad and walked toward the exit. Nina watched him go. Damon appeared beside her, arms crossed. Let him go? Nina watched the lecturer disappear into the crowd. For now. Damon grinned. So what's next? Conquer the galaxy? Rewrite history? Become space? How warlords? Nina turned to him. No, I'm finishing my thesis. Damon blinked. After everything. After learning you're an immortal reincarnation loop. After unlocking ancient alien knowledge. After breaking the galactic power structure. You're going back to grad school? Someone has to rewrite the textbooks, Nina said. She walked toward the exit. Damon stood there, watching her go, and started laughing. The sound echoed through the empty hall. Far across the galaxy, in a star system humanity had never visited. A new council meeting began. Smaller. Quieter. Reserved for only the eldest members. A junior officer stood at the back, observing. It leaned toward a colleague and whispered, Should we have let the humans in the room? An elder, ancient, withered, its form barely holding shape, turned slowly. It's too late, the elder said. They've been in every room. The junior officer frowned. What do you mean? The elder's voice was soft, tired, heavy with the weight of knowing. For 50,000 years,